Hello, Coachy. My name is Tim, and I want to thank God for my salvation. Before I got saved, I grew up in a good home. My dad wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't grow up in an abusive home. So everything was kind of going well. But when I was about 14 years old, my mother got sick of cancer, and she ended up passing away, and my family fell apart. I remember my dad in our living room couch crying himself to sleep. I remember my brothers searching for answers. I remember my sisters leaving home. I remember being stuck at home at the age of 14 with my two younger sisters that they were 13 and 12, and we were having to learn life with all this hurt and all this pain. And I began to try to feel or try to deal with the emotions that I was feeling. I was very angry. I got very bitter at the age of 14 years old. I remember seeing my cousins with their mom, and I would remember getting angry and saying, why do they have their mom if we were a better family than we're? And I remember hating my aunts. I remember hating my cousins. I remember hating the world and being angry at God, shaking my fist at God and saying, why me, God? Why us? And so I grew up very bitter. I grew up very angry. I began to hang out with friends, and I began to be introduced into drugs and alcohol, and I began to live that lifestyle. And at the age of 19, I met my wife, and I thought to myself, my life is going to get better. I'm going to get married, and my life is going to be good. And I remember getting married and ruining my wedding. I got drunk, and I remember ruining my wedding. And I remember, from that point on, just beginning to ruin not only my life, but my wife's life. I remember leaving home because I wanted to go drinking, and I wanted to do my own thing and just continue to live the life of sin that was destroying my life. And, I remember, after about 3 years that my divorce papers were already in my kitchen table. And I remember my wife getting saved and giving her life to Jesus Christ and begin to see a change in her life. And I remember going to church and being there with her and just wanting to be there to please her. And I remember that, I would hear the preaching and I would mock it, and I would look at the people in the church and think I was better than them, and I would get angry and I'd continue with my bitterness. But I remember the day that I walked into church, I was broken, and I remember bowing my knee before Jesus, and I remember the preacher's words, and I came to the altar and I said, Jesus, if you're real and you can change my life, I've ruined it. My wife hates me. My family doesn't want me around. I'm a mess. And I said, but if you can fix it, I'll serve you the rest of my life. And I remember getting up from that altar, and I knew I was different. I felt forgiven. I knew that Jesus Christ had forgiven me. And I remember getting up from that altar, just feeling like I had this weight lifted from my shoulders. And I remember I started to go to church on my own, and I remember the first time that my wife actually believed me, that I had changed and I had given my life to Jesus. And from that point on, we had our second daughter, and we began to serve God, and we had our son, and we have 3 kids now. We've, celebrated 25 years of being married, and God working in our lives. And if I could just encourage you, and I try to tell everybody that don't wait till you're at the bottom of the barrel. I waited till I had nowhere else to turn, and I think about that I could have spared myself a lot of pain. I could have saved myself a lot of pain if I would have just surrendered to Jesus. And so if I can encourage you, when you watch these videos, don't wait till you have nowhere else to turn. Give your life to Jesus. You'll save some pain. You'll save some hurt, because God really does love you. And I want to really thank Jesus for changing my life. And we are praying for you guys at Kochi, India. And we want to see you. God bless you. And I just want to let you know Jesus changed my life.